Pennzoil Performance line, including our next guest, Ian Begley, the ESPN Knicks reporter. Obviously, he's worked for the Daily News, has covered every team in New York for many, many years, talking, of course, about the return of Carmelo Anthony Saturday night. Ian, thanks for being with us. So the Knicks beat the Thunder in Melo's return. What was your take on how the Knicks as an organization handled Melo's return?
I thought they did a very nice job with the tribute video during intros. I thought it was a very classy move by the organization. Carmelo Anthony certainly appreciated it. He said he didn't expect it, but he said that kind of thing goes a long way with him. He thanked team president Steve Mills and GM Scott Perry for handling it the way that they did. And I just wonder if or how things would have been different if Phil Jackson was still running the team at this point. Does Carmelo get that kind of tribute when he comes back here? Carmelo was actually asked that question after the game, and he said, listen, I'm moving on from that situation. I try not to think about it. But the look on his face told you that he was kind of wondering the same thing.
You know, you said in the beginning of that answer that he didn't expect it. What did he expect?
I'm not sure because, we had reported that there was going to be a tribute. So maybe that was just him giving a kind of a coy answer, which he's apt to do. He's been apt to do with his dealings with the media. But maybe he just expected a regular introduction and then the fans reacting the way they would react. I'm really not sure. I think that he probably should have expected some kind of tribute video, given who he was dealing with this regime and this front office. But he did say he was caught off guard. He called it a bittersweet moment because what it did is it kind of triggered his thoughts to go to places where he kind of thought about, hey, I didn't deliver what I wanted to deliver in New York as far as the success that I wanted to bring to this franchise. We didn't get close to winning a title the way that I had hoped we did. And he said it was a little bit of an emotional moment there right before the game.
Yeah, ESPN's Knicks reporter Ian Begley joins us on Golic&Wingo. So, I mean, it was exactly, I think, what you'd want if you're a Knicks fan. You get the tribute, you boo, and then you get the win. So yeah. if you're the Knicks fan, you got your moment to honor Melo, then you boo him as you do when he touches the ball, and then you come away with the win. And Melo's time in New York is kind of interesting, right, Ian? I mean, look, he did a lot for the fans, a lot for the game, and a lot for the Knicks, but it never quite meshed. So, 6.5 years, I think they made the playoffs 3 times. How would you look back at his sort of tenure with the Knicks?
I think overall disappointing, but I think you can't really painted in kind of a black and white picture where you blame Melo for everything that went wrong with what happened with the Knicks, or you blame management for everything that went wrong with what happened with the Knicks during his tenure. Because I think there are a combination of factors at play here that led to their lack of success. Phil Jackson and the previous regime, Donnie Walsh and then Glenn Grunwald, didn't do a great job surrounding Carmelo with enough talent to lead, to give him that supporting cast that so many other superstars in the NBA had to bring the Knicks to those greater heights that they were hoping for. But then on the other hand, the way Carmelo played, you can make an argument that he didn't do enough to elevate that cast that was put around him, which a lot of great players in the NBA do. So I think there's blame to go around, but a lot of people in this town, they want to look at Carmelo and see him as the reason for everything that's gone wrong for this team in the last 6.5 years. I just don't see it that way. I think you put some blame on management, you put some blame on Carmelo, but ultimately I do think that the tenure was a disappointment here in New York.
But look at, I guess, coming out through the other end here. I mean, Amar'e Stoudemire is thought to be a big money guy there and to help. Obviously, Carmelo, Phil Jackson's brought in to be Phil Jackson and have all the free agents flock to New York, which obviously was a horrible failure from that standpoint of it. And here you are with none of those guys there anymore, and a team that's sitting 16-13 and 14-5 at home this year, and you have one of the great stars in the league in Porzingis. So where this team is now, after all of that money spent, big names, here you are with none of the big money or the big names, and a team that's doing pretty well.
Yeah, Mike, for the first time in a long time, I think it is safe for the Knicks fan to see a light at the end of what has been a long, dark tunnel here in New York because of the reasons that you spelled out. You have Kristaps Porzingis here, and he looks to be a player that you can build around, looks to be a cornerstone of a franchise. And you have Frank Ntilikina, a young point guard that the Knicks drafted with the eighth pick in the draft this year, and he's shown promise. He's shown a lot of progress from day one to now. He looks to be a guy who can, at the very least, defend at an elite level at the point guard position, which is one of the most important positions in this league. So there are young cornerstones that this franchise has. And again, for the first time in a long time, this team has all of its first-round draft picks going forward. So Steve Mills, Scott Perry, they have the opportunity here to get things right, to build things the right way around Porzingis and this young core. And listen, Phil Jackson did a lot wrong during his tenure in New York. He didn't trade well. He publicly alienated some of his players. He didn't do a good job selling his players and his coaches on the way he wanted to play the game. But what he did do well was draft well, because we have Porzingis here. We have Ntilikina here, a kid who, again, through 1/3 of the first season of his NBA career looks pretty good. But you got to give Phil Jackson some credit there, because these pieces are what are giving Knicks fans hope at this point.
I'm not so sure how much are people going to be wanting to give Phil credit, but you're right. I mean, he is over the back end going forward. It might be better because of some of the things he did. Now, we mentioned Porzingis, Ian, as he joins us, Ian Begley on Golic&Wingo. He didn't play Saturday because of the knee. What's his status going forward?
And I think the concern here from a Knicks standpoint is Kristaps Porzingis used words like instability, and he talked about his knee buckling the Thursday when this injury happened against Brooklyn. So the Knicks are taking a cautious approach here. I was told, Adrian Wojnarowski and I were told the day after this injury that Porzingis' knee was feeling better and that there was no need for any significant tests. And that, to me, told me that this knee injury wasn't that significant. So I think the Knicks are just being cautious here. I wouldn't be surprised if Porzingis didn't play today against Charlotte. I wouldn't be totally stunned if they held him out for the next game on Thursday against Boston. But I think Porzingis will definitely be on the court for that Christmas Day game against Philadelphia. I think it's just a matter of the doctors and Porzingis wanting to be 100% comfortable that when he goes out there, he's not at risk of doing some significant damage to the knee, because that's the last thing this franchise could put at risk right now.
All right, Ian, we appreciate the time. Thanks for being with us.